All right, sweet. Flatline MMA podcast episode number 59. Last card of the year. What a wild 2020 it's been in the sport of MMA. Last card, I think I wouldn't say, save the best for last, but such a good card to talk about. I'm so excited. UFC Vegas 17. Um, just we all knew going in it was going to be one of the best cards of the year. So many great names on it. The main card was just ridiculous. So let's just get right into it. Let's talk a little bit about maybe the undercard a little bit. Anthony Pettis taking on Alex Moreno. Obviously, Anthony Pettis back against the wall, right? Taking on a guy, Moreno, right? Kind of this newcomer. We really wanted to see how Pettis dealt with adversity. Obviously, with the UFC making so many cuts within the next couple weeks here, he's definitely one of those guys who could be on the list. So, what did you think about Pettis' performance? Obviously, he's getting the unanimous decision win over Moreno. Thought he looked good. I thought he looked lean, and he definitely delivered when he needed to be. So, what did you think about his performance?
Yeah, he definitely showed up in shape, looked a lot more prepared. Um, had some trouble early on in the fight, but found his groove and almost got a knockout right at the final bell. Um, yeah, he just found a groove after the first round, stayed in it the rest of the fight, and his striking looked great. He clipped him with that like spinning heel kick right off the top of the head and almost got the finish there. But yeah, he looked good. It was definitely a win that I think he kind of needed too.
Yeah, and I thought he looked great. I thought, he looked leaner. I think when he came into the Tony fight, I thought he had a little chub on him, and I was definitely wasn't the Pettis we were used to seeing. So it was good to see him back in the win column, man. Obviously, he's super exciting with what he can do. Yeah, and that spinning heel kick was ridiculous. I thought he was going to put him out with that, but yeah, that was a good way to kind of end off the prelims there, last prelims of the year. So headed to the main card, we had a heavyweight bout, Marcin Tybura taking on Greg Hardy. Marcin Tybura just putting the beat down on Greg Hardy with the second round TKO. Hardy being finished for the first time in his career. But overall, really good fight. I thought Tybura looked really good. You could tell that, there was a skill difference once it hit the ground, and you could definitely see, you know, Hardy's cardio was just non-existent there. I think he just
Yeah.
he gassed out in the ground game. It just didn't look like he knew what he was doing. So I kind of figured it was either going to be Hardy was getting knocked out or Tybura was going to win it via decision, but getting it done via second round TKO. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think Hardy looked pretty good early on in the fight. His
Mhm.
striking, he was really aggressive. Um, but we do know he's had those cardio issues in the past. I think Tibera knew that, you know, he just had to face that early flurry of strikes for the first round, maybe first round and a little bit of the second. And once he tie it out, go for the takedown and start working from there. But yeah, I think Hardy looked pretty good. His striking, his boxing was really good. He was mixing it up with the body shots. Um, but there's definitely a big hole in his game. One's the cardio, and two is the wrestling. As soon as that fight hit the mat, it was pretty much all over. He curled up. He wasn't able to do any type of transition or work his way up back to his feet. He just looked gassed and he looked out of his element on the mat.
Yeah, and I figured like this time was going to come for Hardy, and he was going to get exposed on the ground, and a lot of people were applauding his demise on Saturday night, which obviously sucks, but he'll be back. He's got a heavy right hand, so he's just going to continue getting these big fights on these main cards like he's been doing since his first pro fight. So um, congrats to Tabor, obviously biggest win of his career. Let's get him a ranked opponent next because he's a monster. Uh, Next fight, we had a bantamweight bout. Someone near and dear to our hearts, Rob Font, New England Cartel leader, taking on the number 3 bantamweight in the world, former title challenger Marlon the Magic Man Moraes. My God, I've been fired up for fights before. Obviously, watching Calvin Kattar fight when Connor comes out there, This was different, man. To watch Rob Font just TKO Marlon Moraes just out cold was one of the best things I've ever seen, man. Seeing a hometown guy come back from a year-long injury, ACL injury, and take on a guy, Marlon Moraes, who's an absolute killer, who gave Henry Cejudo a shit ton of trouble in that title fight. Someone who knocks people out dead. And for Rob Font to come in there, really, take adversity well. He got taken down, but Marlon didn't really do anything. Font was composed. And once that thing got back on the feet, we really got to see that New England cartel boxing and the hands on Rob Font and why he's one of the best in the world, and just dismantling Marlon Moraes on the feet with a goddamn jab. And then it was over from there. So what did you think about this performance? Because I still am fired up about this. Rob Font now in the top 5 in the world.
Yeah, this was a huge fight for Font. I mean, Marlon Moraes, you look at his past couple fights, he's fighting Corey Sandhagen, Jose Aldo, fought Cejudo, like you said, gave Cejudo a lot of trouble. Knocked out Aljamain Sterling earlier in his career. Knockouts over Jimmy Rivera. I mean, these are all the biggest names in that division, and he's taking them out. He's finishing them. So, yeah, like you said, it was a huge fight for Font coming off an injury. Basically been inactive the whole past year, and to come back against a guy like Moraes is a pretty tall task. So, but I thought it was super impressive. I mean, considering that he was on the mat for the majority of that fight and it still only lasted under 4 minutes, I think it's crazy. I mean, nobody makes that quick a work with Marlon Moraes. Aldo wasn't able to do it. Cejudo wasn't able to do it. And Sandhagen got the finish in round 2, but yeah, I mean, it was super impressive. He didn't have to box with him long to get the knockout, which I thought was incredible.
It really reminded me of, McGregor versus Mendez a lot. Like, Marlon just controlled the fight on the ground, right? And he really wasn't doing too much damage. And then just like in that McGregor Mendez fight, as soon as it got on the feet, you just felt that there was like a shift in momentum. And as soon as Rob got up, I'm like, oh, here we go. Because I think what a lot of people believe about Marlon, he's such a fast starter that he does tend to gas out. And I think Rob noticed that and just started teeing off. I mean, think about how powerful you have to be to just knock someone down with a jab. Like, that was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. And I'm just so happy that he was able to display that. And, something he said after the fight is he never showed up in the big moments. He had a chance to kind of propel into the top 10 when he fought Lineker, and he screwed that up. Then a Sun Tzu, that didn't go his way. And for him to do it against Marlon Moraes, former title challenger, someone in the top 3, and coming off an injury like that, is just, I can't say enough about Rob Font. For someone who's been to his gym, seen him in action, seen how hard this guy works, one of the most satisfying wins I've ever seen. So shout out Rob Font. Honestly, like, super pumped for you. As someone that's been on this podcast before, we were fucking going nuts for you. So what's next for him, man? What do you see in that top 5 that makes sense for him? He called out Dillashaw. Is that the fight to make next? Dillashaw comes back from his suspension next month. Does the UFC just throw Dillashaw into a massive fight like that? Do they give him someone outside of the top 5 to give him a warm-up fight? What's next for Rob Font here?
Yeah, yes. I mean, definitely someone in the top 5. There's so many different fights that could happen. It looks like the next one's going to be, for the title anyway, it'll be Jan Sterling, but that leaves Sandhagen, Garbrandt, Frankie Edgar all open. I don't think any of those guys are in talks or have.
We got Sandhagen, Frankie booked 2021. So, I mean, Cody's there. I mean, Font and Cody would be a banger.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's true. Yeah. I mean, him Garbrandt or him Dillashaw. I think the way his career is going right now, I think he's got because Aldo made that call out as well, I'm
Yes.
pretty sure,
Mhm.
for Dillashaw. So, yeah, I mean, either one of those fights, I think those are the only two options that really make sense. Either him versus Garbrandt or him versus Dillashaw.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, both of those fights I will be watching. I mean, TJ is obviously a tricky one because we're going to see. Obviously, he's coming off a 2-year suspension, 2-year layoff. So, I mean, it's going to be tough to gauge what kind of TJ we're going to see. We don't know if he was taking what he was taking before. You know what I mean? Is this going to affect him? And then you got a guy like Cody Garbrandt who hits like a fucking truck. Him versus Rob Font in a stand-up fight. My God, that's a hell of a fight. So I think honestly, like now with Figueiredo and Moreno, obviously it's not the rematch isn't official, but I think that kind of hinders Cody's plans to move down. So I think that this is now only going to fuel him to take one more fight at bantamweight before he moves down. And Rob Font just made a massive statement against Moraes. Let's make Rob Font Cody Garbrandt next, and let's let it be a stand up fight, and let's see who gets knocked out. But I'm going Font in that. I think what he did I think Cody's hittable, and with what I saw on Saturday night from Font was just too impressive to me, man. And Cody's got the hands, but we've seen his chin deteriorate over his last 4 fights, and I think if Rob Font hits you, man, you're going down. So I'm curious to see what the UFC does next. I'm hoping a quick turnaround for Rob. Probably in Q1 here. I think that'd be awesome. I know Cody said he'll be back in March, so I'm hoping that they just quick turnaround, make that fight. So that'd be amazing. So shout out Rob Font. You're an absolute legend. We're gonna get you on the show very soon to discuss the massive win here. Then next we had my God, this was gonna, I think in everyone's mind, just a ridiculous fight, right? We had Chaos Williams taking on Michel Pereira, and I think it delivered. Just a great overall fight from two madmen. You got Pereira, who's doing flips and shit in the octagon. You got Chaos Williams, who hasn't gone past 1 minute in his UFC career. Just a great fight, man. Overall, these guys brought it all. Pereira ended up coming out with the unanimous decision victory. Chaos pretty pissed. He thought he won that fight, but I'm good with that decision, man. I felt like Chaos, as it got into the later rounds, was gun shy. He was still throwing. He just wasn't hitting as much as in the first round when he was throwing bombs. We were all like, "Oh shit, someone's getting knocked out here," and you felt like his power wasn't being utilized in the third round mostly. But I thought Pereira did look composed, calm. He had a couple moves in there they were crazy kind of towards the end of the round, but overall, I thought he was calm and composed like he was in his last fight. So I don't know. What'd you think about this fight here?
Yeah, yeah, it was a fun one to watch, and just looking at the significant strikes and the takedowns and kind of the breakdown of the fight, it was pretty even. But watching the fight live, I think I had Pereira pretty much all throughout the fight. I don't
Yeah.
know if I think you know there were some exchanges where Chaos was able to land some good shots, but I think for the most part, Pereira did a pretty good job of evading those power shots and
Mm-hmm.
moving around the mat and making sure that he was landing effectively when he did move in range.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's good to see because you could always tell how talented Pereira was, but that talent kind of got taken away with some of the antics he would do in the octagon. Like there were some early fights that he should have won that he lost just
Mm-hmm.
because, like you said, doing the backflips, doing the breakdancing, um, doing all sorts of crazy things, and just kind of tiring himself out. But yeah, he's super talented. He's huge for that division. Like he's a massive guy, and he's highly skilled. So I think I think he's on the up and up right now. I think there's a lot of big things for him. We were surprised. He's only 27 years old. He's
Insane.
pretty young. I mean, he's getting better and better with each fight. I think he's definitely going to make some waves in that division in the next few years.
I was going to say, I think he's a problem, man. And he was able to kind of withstand some big shots from Chaos, which, you know, his first two opponents didn't even get out of the first minute. So obviously it proves he's got a chin. And same with Chaos, man. He's going to be back stronger than ever. But overall, great fight. I think everyone knew it was going to be an awesome fight. I don't think anyone would have bet that was going to decision. So just overall, great fight from two fucking warriors. Co-main event time. Jose Aldo taking on Marlon Chito Vera. Chito Vera riding the high of just destroying the Sean O'Malley hype train a few months back, taking on Jose Aldo, former champion, former title challenger in two divisions. My God, vintage Aldo performance. I just thought, Aldo getting it done, unanimous decision. What I loved about this fight is we got to see Aldo use leg kicks for the first time in friggin' how many fights? I was so excited to see him in there and be like himself. And, Chito had his moments, but what really defined this fight, that third round. Aldo just smothered Chito on the ground, made Chito look like a goddamn white belt. He couldn't do anything. Yes, he wasn't inflicting a lot of damage, but he won the round. He knew he needed to win that round. Aldo got it done. Again, a guy on the verge of possibly being cut, been on a bad streak, and he gets it fucking done. And that was another satisfying victory to see Jose Aldo get that done. Calling out DJ Dillashaw afterwards. What do you think of the fight?
Yeah, this is another fight where it was kind of do or die for Aldo. I mean, he kind of had to get this win. He's suffered a couple knockout losses over his past few fights, and a decision loss to Moraes too. So I think this is definitely a big one for him, a big one for his career. He's still relatively young. I mean, I think he's only it doesn't say here, but I think he's under 35 at least, right? Yep. He's like 32, 33.
Yeah, he's 33.
So he's still got another few years in this game. So, but yeah, I mean, he just chewed him up with the leg kicks, completely smothered him in that third round, and did what he had to do to get the victory. I think Chito was really frustrated that third round. He knew he was behind. He wanted more action. He wanted to be able to stand and trade, but Aldo was on his back for the majority of that round, and he couldn't do anything with him.
Yeah, I definitely, saw the frustration in Chito's face, and Aldo just did a good job, restricting Chito from doing anything in that third round, and that's really what won the fight. I did think it was close, and I thought that third round obviously was a blowout. Chito did nothing, and Aldo was smart. It definitely wasn't him, but he had to do what he had to do to save his ass and be on this roster still. So obviously massive win for Aldo. I don't even know what's next for him, to be completely honest. He's at the number 6 spot. There's definitely a lot of good fights out there that could fight, right? You got, Munoz, you got Jimmy Rivera, Sun Sao, Dom Cruz is booked up, but, him versus Merab would be awesome. He has a ton of possibilities just because he is a legend and everyone's going to want to fight him because he's kind of like that stepping stone to the title. So curious to see what the UFC does with him, but obviously awesome to see Aldo get back in the books. He's one of my favorites. He's so fucking vicious, and like in his prime, he was so goddamn good. People don't understand. This guy's been fighting since he was 20 years old. Like when he lost to Conor McGregor, he was 29 years old. Like think about that for a second. Like he's been in this game so long and he dominated so long that like, of course he's going to be on the decline when you're fighting this long. Same with Pettis. Same for like guys like that. Like that's just the name of the game. So shout out Jose Aldo. Congrats on the massive victory. Main event time. Last fight of the year in the UFC calendar. We had Stephen Wonderboy Thompson taking on Jeff goddamn Neal. Hands of Steel Neal. My God, Stephen Wonderboy proving why he is the best in the world. One of the best in the world. Just really piecing up Jeff Neal, man. I mean, Jeff Neal coming in with so much hype, undefeated in the UFC, knocking everyone out. And Wonderboy just making easy work, man. a little adversity of the clashing of heads early on in the fight. And other than that, man, Wonder Boy was able to cruise to an awesome, just 50-45 victory over a young, just hungry guy. And he did whatever he wanted with him, man. And it was so impressive to see Wonder Boy get back in the winning column. Obviously, after the Pettis knockout, which was such a freak thing, then dismantling Luke, and now just dismantling Jeff Neal. What do you think about this performance from both guys?
Yeah, it was an awesome one for Thompson. I think, ever since his loss to Woodley, his two losses to Woodley, and then the knockout loss to Pettis, I think he's kind of been forgotten about, especially with, the rise of fighters like Gilbert Burns, Masvidal making a lot of noise over this past year, past 2 years. New fighters entering the division. I think he's just kind of been lost in translation, and people are forgetting how good he actually is. And he put it all on display last weekend. I mean, he was pretty hard to hit, landed a ton of shots. I mean, right here it's saying he threw close to 430 strikes in that fight. Staying super active, really accurate, and beating a guy 5-0, no matter who it is, that's a tough thing to do, to keep up the pace, be as sharp as you were in the first round, in the fifth. It's a tough thing to do, and it's just proof that he's, still at the top of this division, and he could definitely be, fight. He's definitely prepared to be fighting for the title.
Yeah, I mean, you just beat a guy like Jeff Neal, who, his nickname's Hands of Steel. You know what I mean? When he hits you, you go down. And he took shots. Obviously, early in that first, he was taking shots from Neal, but you could tell that there's levels to this game, man. And Neal's just not there yet. And obviously, when you fight Wonder Boy Thompson, he has such a different style than everyone else in the UFC.
Yeah.
So tough to hit him. But obviously, I know Jeff Neal's going to be back. He's going to get a big knockout in his next fight. The dude's an absolute beast. He couldn't even see for 4 rounds, he said, because the headbutt. So obviously that's tough. But Wonderboy calls out Masvidal. Masvidal's number 4. That fight makes sense to me. And Masvidal on Instagram commented saying yes with a little fire emoji. Maybe the Covington Masvidal negotiations just aren't going good. Is that a fight you'd like to see again? I mean, Wonder Boy won the first Masvidal fight pretty easily. Was able to contain Jorge's power and just piece him up on the feet, which not a lot of people do to Jorge. So is that a fight you'd like to see again?
Yeah, I mean, they're two of the top strikers in that division. To see them face off, especially with how Masvidal has been fighting lately, was wins over Diaz, over Darren Till, over Ben Askren. He's a completely different fighter. I think it's going to be a much tougher fight for Wonder Boy the second time around. And I think it's a really interesting one. Really high-level striking. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I'm all in for that. Sign me up. And then, I'm all in for Wonder Boy's, title run here, man. I think he deserves it. Like you said, I think people forgot about him, but you can't forget about that performance on Saturday night, wrapping up the 2020 year in UFC. What a year it's been, buddy. So many good cards, so many good fights, so many good knockouts, submissions, fighters rising up, contender series, just developing great fighters. Next weekend, we are going to kind of dive deeper into awards, get into fight of the year, KO of the year, submission of the year. So excited to kind of dive into those. I know, some of them may be more unanimous than others, but excited to kind of unveil those and get into the 2021 fighting season here. Obviously, breaking news that kind of just announced this evening, Fight Island will be the start of the 2021 fight season. My God, what a lineup, back to back to back, all within 1 week. We have Calvin Kattar taking on Max Holloway. We have Leon Edwards taking on Khamzat Chimaev. And then we have Conor McGregor taking on Dustin Poirier at UFC 257. all within 1 week, guys. It does not get better than this. I am so excited, and they're stacking all these cards. It's so good. UFC back to Fight Island to start the 2021 season. My God, I am so amped up. Kevin, what do you got? Anything else?
No, that was it.
Guys, it's been fucking real. Thank you for everyone who supported us this year through the pandemic. Our Instagram has grown times 100 throughout this thing. So thank you guys for supporting. Click that like button, click that subscribe button. Go follow us if you don't on Instagram. Our Instagram is blowing up. Click the link below. Merch. Go grab your merch. CBD. Anything Flatlined related. Click the link below. And until next time, we'll see you next week. Peace.